Anyway, this is the music show. Today's topic is music that we didn't like when we were kids and we kind of like now, or you can do the opposite, and music that you liked back then or don't like now. And I added an extra one, music that I never liked back then and I still don't like now. So there you go. That's today's show.
And that opens up.
And let's see what you got there, Mr. Roddy.
All right, first band would be the Kinks. Except for like a lot of these bands, they have like one song that I like,
That's a really good one. That is a really good one, Roddy.
and
Keep
that I
going.
like other songs. But then over the years, if I've heard them more, um, I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Well, I didn't know they did that song. So the Kinks is a good one.
That's a good one
Oh,
because when I was a kid, I would buy their albums,
yeah,
and I like you. Oh yeah, I know this song, "Celluloid Heroes." Oh, I know this song. Uh, You really got me.
right,
Even though those early, really early records, I still don't like that much because they're kind of like this before they got better.
yeah.
But I had this collection. I still have them. One was called Golden Hour of the Kinks, and the other one was called like it was a double album from the
Mhm.
middle period where it was like from Face to Face to Arthur. And a lot of these songs were like, what are they talking about? But that music ages as you get older. They were talking about topics that you didn't think about when you were a kid, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. So it's funny. I was talking with Evelyn about this. Uh, you would think living in like Brooklyn, New York, and then on Long Island, which is a suburb of Brooklyn, that you would hear like a lot of different bands and a lot of different music, but not really. I mean, the AM stations had a lot of this typical standard pop music, and then the on the FM station, I would hear like there was two. One was a progressive rock, WNEW, and the other one was like regular rock, WBAB. And they, at least in the afternoons, in the mornings, and they would play like the same damn uh, songs. So anytime they played a Led Zeppelin song, it was generally "Stairway to Heaven."
Or a whole lot of love.
Yeah, all that. So it's like you would expect, living in a big cosmopolitan
You
style area.
would that they would be like deep cuts, as they say.
Yeah, but not really. They just wanted to play what is like it would be like a top 20 radio station.
It wasn't different back in the old days in the 70s.
No, they would still play the same groups or
Really? They had a
yeah,
they had a list of they had a whatever you
and
would call it, a list of songs.
yeah, and so if you playing the band, you knew exactly what song they were going to play. Very rarely, and usually it was at night, they would play more different songs, and that's why like there was two DJs on WNEW, Pete Fornatel and Allison Steele, and they would play a lot of different songs.
They
And
were played at night.
yeah, at night, and it wasn't always rock, and it wasn't always. I mean, like it wasn't the stuff you would normally hear. They would do deep cuts or alternate songs from the album, and you'd hear that and go, "Oh, that's pretty cool." But in the daytime, same standard stuff. If they did Queen, it was Bohemian Rhapsody.
Or Killer Queen.
That yeah. So it was very difficult. Well, it wasn't difficult. It was just very sort of staid. And then there's a station I started to listen to,
LIR.
WLAR, and I think before that it was WDRE, or vice versa. I don't know, but they would play bands from England. You'd hear different things, bands that you wouldn't hear, and again, they would still sort of play the most popular songs of uh, of bands, but at least I wasn't hearing it on the other stations. I can remember on one station they're going to premiere this new rock song from this band, and I mean, they played it. I'm like, I've been listening to that song for a year on WLIR. So I don't like, how is this a new song? But that's, so it can get frustrating. Now with streaming, I mean, it's easy on YouTube. It's easy to listen to different music,
Yeah.
and a lot of college bands. If you hit them at the right time and with the right shows,
Yeah. Yeah.
they'll
Sure.
have new music, a lot of interesting stuff. But I think the general radio has gotten worse, if not stayed the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever it is now, because I don't know how to listen to it.
Yeah,
Well, the thing too is that back then it was kind of like, even where I lived, they would play deep tracks, but they wouldn't go into the whole album. So they might play a couple of songs off an album,
right.
but the thing about but the rest of the album was unknown to you. So at first maybe it was hard to get into if it wasn't like instantly catchy.
Right.
Like when I was a kid, I got into Beatle albums because the Beatle cartoons would play deep
Mm-hmm.
tracks,
Yeah.
not just the hits. So
Right.
you got to hear stuff like "On Your Bird Can Sing" or "Taxman," or as opposed to just "I Want to Hold Your Hand" or "She
Right.
Loves You" or whatever. With radio did when I was a younger guy did play a lot of Led Zeppelin. They played a lot of songs off those early albums. They did play a lot of Beatles stuff, not everything, but like the Eleanor Rigby's, the Sergeant Peppers, and all that. Um, thing about the Kinks was they're very British,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of their references were kind of like you didn't get.
Right.
If you were a kid, you didn't know what the Waterloo Bridge or the Thames or or some of the things they were referring to. So as you get older and you read about them and you listen to these songs, you kind of start to get them. But at the time, these guys were putting out an album a year. So
Yeah.
you'd get a lot of material as
Yeah.
opposed to now. And, the Kinks on the radio would only play, the only ones I remember ever hearing on the radio were You Really Got Me. And this is some of these were on AM. All
Yeah.
Day of the Night,
Yeah.
Celluloid Heroes.
Now, I didn't hear that on in the daytime. I heard that on. That was one of the obscure nighttime ones they would play.
Celluloid Heroes.
Celluloid Heroes. In the daytime, it's pretty much Lola that I heard. It's
Lola was the big hit. I forgot about Lola. Yeah.
AM stuff. Those two songs. And that was always on like classic rock or whatever.
I
But
mean, Lola was an AM hit. I remember hearing it on the AM Top 40
yeah, they
station,
rare.
which is really crazy. A song about a
Yeah,
transvestite being a top 10 hit or whatever.
yeah.
It was
But
real weird. But
a lot of
yeah,
people don't really listen to the lyrics or they can't understand them. So it sounds like a nice, pleasant song. So I don't think they, and it mentions Coca Cola. So I don't think they really.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing about the Kinks was they started in '65 and they played in the U.S. But I think in '66 they
Hmm.
came here and they had problems. They got into fights with believe it or not, they got into fights with the union guys at the where they were playing, and they banned them to play in
Wow.
the U.S. till '69. So
Wow.
all these classic albums that they had, from Face to Face, Village Green, Arthur, whatever, 4 or 5 records, they weren't played much here because they couldn't tour or support them, so there was no enthusiasm. They
Hmm.
got played, I'm sure, on the radio, but not really with any, not with much promotion. But they were critically acclaimed
Right.
by here and over there, so they still kept. Back then, record labels would actually keep bands just because they were critically acclaimed, even if they didn't sell a million records or whatever. It wasn't until Lola came out that they ended the friction between the band, the unions, and the Kinks ended, and they could come to the U.S. And then they had all these albums that were kind of like not underground but critical favorites, and they were playing all this music, and they got rediscovered. And then in the '80s, the Kinks redefined themselves as a hard rock band
Mm.
when they became when they oh, what was their album what was those albums oh god, the '80s Arista, when they moved to Arista Records. I can't think of the album names, but State of Confusion, stuff like that. They
Right.
even did a disco song. They even did I Want to Fly Like Superman. So they kind of became
Right. Right. Right.
a
Yeah,
big kind of hit then, but for like the main part of the British invasion, the first British invasion, they were kind of like banished to England. So Ray Davies would write songs about England, and they didn't really. If you're a kid, you know what's a semi-detached, what's a this, what's a that. You know, you don't know.
it was,
Now, you know, you get an idea.
yeah. It wasn't until I started watching like Masterpiece Theater, Monty Python, a lot of that
Yeah,
English shows came up. Benny Hill. I started to get a better sense of like the slang terms in England, and what like different things meant, because they would say a word and you could see what they're talking about and go, oh, that's what that means. Like dog end. I can remember hearing the Jethro Tull song. He sings in Aqualung. He bends to pick a dog end. I didn't know what the
yeah,
hell
that's a cigarette, right? Yeah, the
cigarette
big,
butt. Yeah.
yeah,
And then there's like a Pink Floyd song where they sing, I forget what it is, but they say, "Hey, you White House." So a lot of people in America, myself included, think they're singing about Washington, D.C., but it turns out they're singing about a politician, a British politician.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you're right. You don't get those connections.
Yeah, like in Taxman, you know, Taxman, Mr. Wilson, Taxman, Mr.
Yeah.
Heath. You don't
Yeah.
know it's Harold Wilson and the Heath or whatever. I mean, you had an idea, but you didn't, you know.
Yeah, you knew they were singing about somebody, but it doesn't have the same.
Yeah, their slang was kind of interesting, but it was also like I didn't get it,
Right.
you know. Plus, they
Yeah.
were talking about subjects like, you know, the British Empire and all that, that unless you were watching, like you said, Masterpiece Theater or things like that, you wanted to rock out. You didn't get it. So they were kind of like pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
The thing about the Kinks, too, is that, like, as the years go and you read more about them, you kind of understand what was going on and you listen to those records. I mean, I love even the ones that from the 70s that people don't like. I love them because I just like, you know, Ray Davies. I thought he was a great writer. I mean, to me, from the British invasion, it was the Beatles and the Kinks and the Stones are tied. You know, as far as liking them. You know, and I mean, the Beatles are always going to be number one. But
Right.
you know, anyway, let's go on to another one. What's another one you got there?
Another one, a band this is the opposite. The band I liked in the beginning, but now hate is the Rolling Stones.
Why? Because of all those 40 years of mediocre albums or something?
Yeah, I can't.
Not really, but I'm just
They're,
saying.
I forget that it's the album with all the like wigs on it and stuff.
Oh, Some Girls?
Some girls, I hate
I
that album.
like that record.
Fine, that's fine, but to
Oh
me
yeah, yeah, that's cool.
that sounds like when they started selling out. I hate that song "Miss You," and it just. I mean,
That song cracks me up actually.
one of my favorite albums is Majesty's Satanic.
I love that record.
Or it's great,
I love that record.
but and like Painted Black, one of my favorite songs.
Oh
Sid,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Citadel's great song.
yeah, but I don't know
Let's
what.
all sing this together from Satanic Majesties.
Yeah,
She's a rainbow, all that. Oh, I love that stuff.
whatever whatever happened to me, it just seemed like I don't know. They evolved. Obviously, these all bands.
Yeah, sure, yeah,
It
yeah.
just seemed to evolve in a direction that no longer captivated me. And then all this BS antics with what's his the
Keith
hell.
Richards.
No, Keith Richards I don't mind. Mick Jagger. And like I mean I've known people that kind of like deify this guy as if he's some god spouting wisdom and truth. I'm like he's an a-hole. I'm
I like the Stones up until Tattoo You. I did like that record kind of, but
yeah,
after that I kind of fell off the Rolling Stones you
bandwagon.
know,
Yeah.
bandwagon. But I even like kind of what's that one, Black and Blue, the one after It's Only Rock and Roll. I think their golden period was uh, Beggar's Banquet,
Hmm.
Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers,
Hmm.
Exile on Main Street. I love Goat's Head Soup, but you could say that was the beginning of kind of like it wasn't as good as the one before. And
Right.
then It's Only Rock and Roll I like, but I don't think it was as good as Goat's Head Soup. And then Black and Blue was kind of a weird one because I like some of the stuff on it, but some of the
Right.
stuff is okay. But then it seems like in some girls, they kind of went back to basics and became more of a rock band, but they did dabble in disco with Miss You. But that song cracks me up because, hey, we're going to come back down with some Puerto Rican girls who's dying to meet you. We're going to get a glass of wine and hang out like we used to. Like, it just cracks me up. What can I tell you? He's such a goon. And Start Me Up was good, but yeah, I get it. I get it. It's been 40 years of. I
Well,
mean, yeah, I'll give it to them. They've been touring all these years, and they're probably one of the only bands that have been able to do that since the
right.
'60s. So you got to give it up. Got to give them up. But I agree.
Oh, yeah.
I know what you mean.
It's not. I don't think they're terrible or they sold out or anything. It's just that the direction they went in, it
Yeah, I
doesn't.
get it.
I.
Totally get it.
It's the same with the Beatles. I love the Beatles, but then when they started doing singular projects, I don't like Paul
Yeah,
McCartney.
I agree. I agree.
He went
I
in.
like some of it.
Yeah, yeah, one or two songs. Oh, that's pretty cool. But the rest, no. Same thing with John Lennon. He's got like I love Stealing Glass, but the rest,
I
and then
mean, with Lennon, I like Imagine, I like Plastic Ono Band, and I like Walls and Bridges. McCartney, I still like his goofy first record.
right.
And I still like Band on the Run and a few others, but and the first George Harrison is great.
Yeah, George Harrison, I always loved. I always loved the direction he went in when he was with the Wilburys, when he was doing solo work. No matter how he evolved, I always loved him. And same thing with Ringo. Well, Ringo Starr.
I like well, you love Ringo. But I love the Ringo album, the one with Photograph and I'm the Greatest and all that. That's an excellent record.
So George and Ringo, I even after the Beatles, I like their work, but McCartney and Lennon, I could.
I think Lennon and McCartney had good records, but I don't like crap like Somewhere in New York City where he's always singing about politics.
Yeah,
And I didn't like all the wedding album and all the all the crap that he did, the experimental stuff. But I even like Walls and Bridges a little bit. I mean, I do like McCartney Ram. I like that record. It's not perfect, but I like it. I know Red Rose Speedway was supposed to be a double, and I think as a double record, it's probably better than the single that they put out. So whatever. And then the first Wings was kind of like a real kind of bare bones things, but it's got its charm to it. But here's the problem: when they were the Beatles, they were cutting edge.
yeah, definitely.
When they broke up, the other bands became cutting edge. The King Crimsons became cutting edge. Yes became cutting edge. Led Zeppelin and the Beatles became songwriters,
Yeah,
which is what they always were. But when they were a group, they were kind of pushing the barriers of what
exactly.
music was going to be. And by the '70s, good songs.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah. I mean, again, this is not
Yeah, it's your opinion,
opinion. It's
and I
not the
kind of agree with you. I kind of agree with you. I really do.
quality. It's the direction they took. So it's like, It's sort of like you go to a picnic, everybody's sitting in the sun. I want to sit in the shade,
There you go.
even if I like the people. I'm sitting in the shade.
Okay, I'll give you one that I
Okay,
used to not like.
and I.
Didn't like this duo,
Mhm.
but I sure like them now a lot better. The Carpenters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Wow.
didn't like them when I was a kid. I thought it was like sappy.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when I was a kid, somebody gave me the Close to You album. I think
Really?
I played it once.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm talking about when the album was new. For
Yeah.
Christmas, somebody gave it to me, and I was like, yeah, this is just like, I want rock, man. I want Beatles. I want bands or whatever. But as the years went on and I heard more stuff, I was like, yeah, they're very good. They're very good. And she was a great vocalist,
Yeah. She had a good voice, definitely.
and she was a good drummer too.
Yeah. Which was surprising when I found out. Like, wow, she is. Because I didn't know. I just thought she sang.
A lot of this is going to be in the same category, but not necessarily. There's a few other ones, but I'll lump in these two guys together.
Okay.
Burt Bacharach, Henry Mancini. Okay, I mean, like I
Mm,
said, I was a rock and roll guy. I
right.
mean, Burt Bacharach had hits, which I liked, but it's like, did you know the way to San Jose? Dun, 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 dun. But he also had,
Yeah.
Alfie and good stuff, and Mancini. Okay, yeah, the Pink Panther theme, and but as the years go on, and I've listened to a lot of the rock records, and
Mhm.
I hear this stuff, it's like, man, this is solid material. You know what I mean? I kind of like, I was too much of a kid to get into it. I'm not gonna say it was adult music. I'm not gonna say it's totally like you can categorize these three in easy listening, and I
Right.
wasn't an easy listening guy. I kind of am now in a certain way, you know.
I think it's a matter of when you're a kid.
You're wired differently.
Yeah, and you like it a certain sound, and that music has a relationship to the culture you're in and the
Sure.
stuff you like and the shows you watch. But I think as you get older, you get more. At least if you're into music, you get more sophisticated,
I
and
think so.
you start hearing different connections. Like when I'm watching Steve Beato, Nick was it Rick Beato?
Rick Beato.
Yeah, Rick Beato. I mean, he starts explaining music. I don't always understand it, but I understand his meaning. Whereas before, I would like it'd be all like a Charlie Brown adult. So now, I mean, I don't know which chord he's talking about when he's like, or what it sounds like, but I understand the mixture of the chords and how some songs are really complicated with how they merge the chords together and the chord progressions and stuff. So I think as you get older, you have more experience to draw from, and you start hearing different things, and you're more willing to explore.
That's part of it. Here's another
Yeah,
part of it. I have my opinion. I would have continued with rock, except the band started to suck for me. They were
that's
not doing anything as good as the ones before. So it was kind of like my interest stopped at a certain point, say in the 90s, and it went backwards
right,
and into other things that were of my time. And there's a nostalgia factor and the memories connected,
right,
and and then and the sophistication you're talking about, where you hear these songs and you go, why are these songs so good? And Rick Beato will explain, well, he's using these polychords, and it's giving you
right,
a different sound as opposed to minor or major chords. He's kind of mixing it up. So these guys, I mean, but Bacharach studied with like Nino Rota. He studied with like heavy duty composers. I'm sure
right,
Mancini did too. And the Carpenters were like, but it was a style, what it is. It
right,
was a style that it didn't interest me because back then rock was new. Rock was
yeah,
happening.
right,
Rock was the music of my generation. This music, in a sense, it was either a music of my parents' generation or in the Carpenter sense, music for squares,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
They
yeah,
weren't the
exactly,
cool kids. They weren't the cool kids.
yeah,
They
exactly,
played instead of playing on in concert, they would go on Johnny Carson's show or the Andy Williams show
right,
or the whatever show, and it was like, oh man, I want to see a guy with a guitar with power chords and fuzz cranking it out, and I don't want, you know, why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near? Nah, come on. Now it's like, it's kind of a nice rhyme. Anyway,
yeah.
those guys. I have more, but you go this
All
time.
right. The next one is, believe it or not, Led Zeppelin.
Not a fan
I
anymore.
I did not like them. I
Oh,
love
you
the
didn't like them. Oh, okay.
did not like them when I first heard them, and uh, like I said, I like the Immigrant Song, but again, up near me, it was either Stairway to Heaven,
Whole lot of love.
Whole Lot of Love, maybe When the Levee Breaks. Is a great. I mean, I love that song now. But and it's also there was their and that wasn't just necessarily their image, but the people who liked them that I was around were big a holes.
Jocks.
Yeah, jocks, stoners, even too.
Yeah, no, you're
Just,
totally right. 100% agreed.
yeah, whatever, And but then as I got older, and I think when the hell it was in like my mid 30s,
Ugh.
I heard a song they did, or I paid attention to it. I think it was Tangerine, and I'm like,
Tangerine's a
I
great song off the third
love that.
album.
Who the hell sings that? And then I found Led Zeppelin, and then I started to listen. So I'm like, man, these are great songs. I would like, what the hell was I thinking at the time? But again, it's like I didn't have I mean, it's still Stairway to Heaven is like,
Yeah, you'll turn it off. Yeah.
yeah, but the Tangerine, When the Levee Breaks, that is a great song. Uh,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
so I started buying albums and playing them, and I love them now.
But
It's
at the
like
time you didn't. You
at the
just
time it's like, "Ugh, please," and I think that's with a lot of bands for me, is that it wasn't necessarily the music, but the associations with the music of the people who like that stuff.
my friend had the same feeling. I told him I used to like some Deep Purple, and he's like, "Oh man, I hate that stuff. It just reminds me of jocks
Yeah,
and the stupid cars acting like jerks playing this."
yeah,
And I'm like, "Well, I didn't have the same
yeah, exactly.
vibe with me."
Uh,
I mean, to me, it's like Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. The first time I really heard them was a kid in school. He
right.
said, "Hey, I got these records. Have you ever heard these?" No. And I go, "Okay, well, I mean, I have some Beatles." They go, "Oh, okay." So we here, take Sergeant Pepper, and I'll borrow that, and then I'll borrow Deep Purple and Rock and Paranoid, and that's when I got to,
Yeah, exactly.
that
Same thing.
stuff.
Some of these I discovered, being in my room at night in the dark, listening to the progressive rock station, and go, "Wow, this is cool." So the only association I had was, me in my room listening to this music I've never heard before. But some of the other stuff is just whatever.
Okay, what's another one you got there?
The other one is I don't mean to insult you. Is Genesis. I used to dislike Genesis.
Good. Now you like them.
Now I like them a lot, especially the earlier one,
The
pre
Peter Gabriel ones,
Peter Gabriel,
yes.
genius.
I
And I
think
think
they're genius too.
Phil Collins again.
It's
He's not
good.
a
The first few with Phil Collins were good, and then they became a pop band after a while.
and I and he seems to write ballads and whatever he does.
Yeah,
Again,
right.
not my favorite kind of music, so it's like whatever. Uh, and I can remember the Lamb Lies. Was it that
Oh,
song?
that's one of my favorites. Lamb
I
Lies Down on Broadway.
not my
Weird, weird.
Yeah, but it's not my cup of tea. But when I listen to it now, the early stuff with Gabriel is great. The and even his solo stuff, I love. And even like you said, a couple albums after he left, and Collins became the main guy.
They were good. The first couple of Collins
You know what?
Genesis were good.
Good music. I kind of like this. I'm surprised.
I,
So
I I have a theory that, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know if it pertains to you, but I know it pertains to others. There's a camp. If you like Yes, you don't like Genesis. I like, yeah, I like, some people like both, of course, but a lot of people are like, I like Yes, I don't like Genesis as much. Genesis, Yes were a bunch of virtuosos. Genesis were too, but Yes were more like showy bands. It's almost like ELP. I like Yes and I like ELP. They're very showy. They're
right,
very, but I like Genesis because I thought that they did the music great, and I thought the little bit of the theatrics that they did with Gabriel doing costumes and introducing and making jokes on stage and his voice.
right.
Man, I'll take Gabriel's voice any day. And I love John Anderson, but it's like my
Yeah,
friend used to say, I think Genesis sounds like Yes with little balls. And I said to him, "You mean Peter Gabriel and his soul voice as opposed to John Anderson and his high pitched voice? Who's got the little balls there? I don't know what you're talking about." But there's camps of them, and
yeah.
I and,
You know
and
what?
that's fine.
There's a lot of camps. I remember as a kid, I liked the Adams Family and the Munsters, but I grew
Yeah,
up in a neighborhood where there were kids who were Munsters only and Adams only, and they would argue about which was the better of the two. And I'm like, well, first off, they're totally different, and secondly, they're both good. Why do you have to choose? And it's the same with Beatles. Some people were like Beatles
and Stones.
and Stones, and it's like, why can't you like both? It's just and that always like threw
It's like
me.
two different flavors. Can't you
Yeah,
have two different flavors that you like? Does it have to be one flavor only?
yeah, exactly. But some people are like that, I guess.
Now, Genesis with Gabriel were genius band.
Right.
And I mean, I didn't hear those many of those records when I was a kid either. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember hearing Watcher of the Skies on the Roku station, and
Hmm.
I remember hearing The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Those are
Hmm.
the only two that I remember ever hearing. But here's what happened one time. Um, there was a show on at night one time. It's called Speakeasy, and
Hmm.
it was a guy. A host was a guy called Chip Monk, who was a lighting guy for bands, famous. He was at Woodstock. He's the guy that I think he's the guy that announced bands at Woodstock. He had a very deep voice. Anyway, the show would mix up musicians jamming, and this one episode I remember had Mike Love. I don't know who the other guy was, but then Peter Gabriel. And Peter Gabriel had this weird haircut where he shaved his head at the top, so it looked like he was bald. His face was painted, and he was the craziest looking character I'd ever seen. This was show played at 1 in the morning, so I was like, "What is this guy?" And they showed a clip, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of cool." So then when I started working in 76, 77, and I had money, I would go to Peaches Records. I remember one night I bought Lamb Lies Down, and I forgot what the other one record was. It was something completely different. Anyway, that's when I started to love the band because I was like, wow, this stuff is crazy. It's all over the place. It's got all these different styles and all that. And from then on, I became like a huge fan of the Gabriel stuff. And I did like the one after Gabriel left, Trick of the Tail, and Wind and Wuthering was good. After that, it was okay, but whatever. But yeah, and the thing about it was back in the old days, some of those Genesis records like Nursery Crime and Foxtrot. I remember you know what? I think I may even have bought an 8 track for $1 at Woolco of a Foxtrot and played it in my 8 track and kind of liked it, but I never really hit. You
Yeah.
know, those records were cutouts for a while
Yeah.
till they got reissued, and then the band. And then when the band does the Lamb, which is when they're getting to be their peak, then Gabriel leaves because of personal reasons or whatever. So you
That's
know,
another with, uh, that makes me like a band is when their albums have a wide range of styles of music.
sure,
Like one note, and all the songs are just pretty much the same meter, the same speed, and I like the variation when they'll have some ballads, they'll have some slow songs, some fast songs, hard
mm,
rock, even if they verge onto like bubblegum or disco. I mean, it's a sign they're like experimenting, and it's not like they're trying to find a sound. They have a sound, but they're just trying different things, or like even like the Beatles did this a lot. Try different music,
sure.
different styles of songs, slow songs, fast songs, love songs, angry songs, hard rock. So that really keeps me engaged.
Interest keeps your interest going.
But
As opposed to one of the bands that I will talk about later that I never liked and I still don't like, which seems to me like they keep rewriting the same album over and over again. Have you figured it out yet?
yeah, I hate no, but
I'll tell you, you might like this band too. Anyway, another one. Well, no, I mean, you got. Give me another one that you
Genesis and did I give you another one?
did. You
But
do
Genesis. Oh, I'll give you another one. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Uh, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Hated them,
Really?
and Neil Young by himself. Hated them. Or did they hated? Disliked them. Their
Didn't
music.
like that sound.
And again, it was the people who liked them. They again a-holes. They had this smug attitude. Oh, because I like CSN, and I like the Monkey song. They were superior to me.
Oh, I got it. I got it. Yeah.
Oh, I hate that music snobbery. And it's just like, hey, it's music. If it's simple or complex, it's still music. If you like something, because I'm the kind of person who, like with art and movies and music, anything in that sort of entertainment style, if it touches you and talks to you and speaks to you, great. Doesn't matter if it's a simple goofy cartoon or some serious film. I go there to be entertained and enjoy. If I learn a little something on the way, or it makes me think a bit, fine. But I don't go to the movies to be lectured and to uh,
Yeah.
deal with some the human condition. The human condition is you're having fun. Okay, it's why
Yeah,
can't you do that?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And in fact, in a lot of those movies that the snobs like, it's always like they have mommy issues, they have daddy issues. It's all about the same story in all
I get it.
relationship. I don't then leave, or do you have daddy issues? Don't see your dad, or yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, good old
Now,
daddy issues.
now listening to them now, I can appreciate them because I'm not around those people anymore.
That's
And
interesting.
Neil
So
Young, I mean,
it wasn't as much as the music as
Neil,
the ambiance that was
yeah,
surrounded by
yeah.
it.
Now, and Neil Young, I hate Neil Young. I think he's an a hole, big a hole, but I like his music.
There you go.
So it's and that's another thing is that as I've grown,
That's a tough one. If you
yeah,
don't like somebody but you like their music, that's a tough one
yeah.
sometimes.
Same thing with some artists. I can't think of any offhand, but I like some their art, but I can't stand the person who's making it. But again, it's like whatever. So I
Yeah.
just watch. I don't interact. Well, I don't have to interact with them, but I just like the art, and then and the same thing. Neil Young, love his songs. I think he's a louse as
I
a
love
person.
his 70s music. I don't like his
Yeah.
music lately, in the last 30 or 40
Oh, yeah.
years.
His earlier stuff, great. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, great. I mean, it's like uh, it does. It has a time and a feel to it. And I'm not big on political songs where it's like, oh, let's fight the man and all that BS.
I don't like those songs because they became the man.
Well,
They,
exactly.
they were always complaining about, oh, a millionaire and this and that. And they became the millionaire. And now
Yeah,
what? What do you say now?
yeah. Neil Young lives on a friggin'
He's a
giant
zillionaire.
acreages
And he
and acres.
preaches and he preaches how you should live. Meanwhile, he lives like a
Yeah, and didn't he? He took his songs off Spotify.
Spotify because of
Because
Joe
Joe
Rogan. And
Rogan,
then
you
I
know,
think he's put him back on there
but the
now.
realizes that he doesn't hold the same sway over people that he used to.
I mean, I don't begrudge the guy's politics. He can be whatever he wants to be. I
That,
choose not to like it. I just have a problem with writing stupid songs like "Let's impeach the president." Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like his song became like really kind of artistic and metaphorical to like just preachy and simplistic and
yeah,
dumb. That
yeah,
doesn't mean every song that he's done since then. But
no,
I think, I mean, if you look at Neil Young interviews in the 80s, he was almost pro Reagan, but something happened to him. Like he changed his politics got more like they became more lefty. And okay, if you want to be a lefty, that's fine. But when you're the establishment and you complain about the establishment, and now you are the establishment, then you're a hypocrite. I'm not saying he is. That's his opinion, and I don't hate him for it.
yeah.
I just don't like the music anymore. I think it's repetitive and it's not as good as it used to be. It's not the
It's
same person either.
yeah, it's preachy, it's snooty, it's elitist.
And it's
He,
boring.
yeah, well, that's probably the biggest crime amongst the artists is to be boring.
Some people don't know when to stop, you
Yeah,
know?
and like you said, don't care about his politics. He can believe what he wants.
When
Don't,
he
he became a zillionaire. Good for him. That's I mean, I'm trying to get rich too, so what? I'm not going to begrudge him, but don't preach to me all this BS while you're living in some. E-
well, you know who's the king of that is Howard Stern, the biggest
oh
hypocrite of
God,
all.
I used to love him, and then now listening, I don't listen to him.
He's become what he used to make fun of. Now he's like politically correct and woke and all that crap. He used to make fun of that stuff.
He
And
lives in a
now he's
rich.
once they get enough money in them, they become they become like I don't know. Anyway, but honestly, everybody's entitled to their beliefs, and if
Yeah,
that's what you believe now, that's fine. But you're not the same kind of guy that you used to
right.
purport to be back then. You become something else that I don't like, but I'm still gonna like your old stuff. And with Neil Young, if you put out an album of your old stuff that's outtakes and it's good, I will buy it. I'm not gonna not buy it. I will buy it because I like it because it's the stuff that I like. and I'll give you the money, and you can keep on doing whatever you rocking in the free world or whatever you want to do, because I like your older music. I just don't like your newer stuff, and I hope that one day maybe you'll, I don't know, you'll put out a good new record, and you probably have it. I've never heard it. I don't know because I don't listen to it. I don't hate the guy.
No,
That's his
yeah.
life.
In any of these bands I mentioned that I don't like anymore, nothing to do with the person themselves. Don't hate them, and they're allowed. I may not like them because I don't like how they act.
Here's
Uh,
another guy that I never liked when I was a kid, but I like now. Leon Russell.
oh yeah, I like the Leon Russell from the
I
beginning.
didn't like the old stuff. I did not like I'm on a tight wire. I was like, what is that? you know, I was like, okay. And then like my friend loaned me albums, and then I found out that he was a member of the Wrecking Crew, and that he did all this stuff. And I listened to it. I had known Russell through his work with Joe Cocker, Mad Dogs and Englishmen, and all that. And I'd seen him before, and I thought he looked like long gray hair and a
Yeah,
hat. He looked kind of whatever, but
like but would belong in a carnival.
and I never liked his voice, but I grew to like it,
Yeah,
and I enjoy his work now a lot.
yeah.
I can't say I'm a huge fan, but I appreciate it a lot more now. But boy, at the time, it just sounded like exploitation to me. You know what I mean? It was just like
Would have
whatever.
been got music for driving.
Yeah, and then here's the other one, and I don't like the modern. I think the modern version of this genre sucks.
Hmm.
But I can listen to old country songs now. I used to not like them at all.
Yeah,
But I can listen to old Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard and some of those guys and then get enjoyment out of their songs now, which I never was able to before. They just sounded corny and you
yeah.
know simplistic, but there's something cool about the musicians are all great, and I don't
Did
know,
you
I really like them now.
watch?
Same with bubblegum music. I used to hate bubblegum music when I was a kid. I used
Mhm.
to hate Yummy 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 and you know uh, Sugar Sugar. I did like the Monkees though,
Yeah,
but I don't think consider them bubblegum. I consider them something a rock band, but
yeah.
whatever. They could be. But now I like it for whatever reason because it's nostalgic. I mean, it's silly, but it wasn't meant to be serious music anyway. It was music for kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So I take it for what it is, and I like the playing because it was bands actually playing, and they had good riffs.
right,
Sometimes they sounded silly,
right.
but I mean, like I said, if you're listening to Black Sabbath back in the '70s, you're probably not listening to the 1910 Fruit Company or the Partridge Family or the Osmond Brothers or any of that stuff.
It was. I love the Partridge Family. I love the 1910 Fruit Gum Company, and I
I
love
did.
Black Sabbath. I love psychedelic rock. A lot of people in school thought I was a big head. I spoke pot occasionally, but you know, they would look. It didn't. The music I listened to didn't match what I looked like, even though I had long hair and stuff.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
There was like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, you didn't belong to any club. You were just your own
Yeah,
guy.
my own person.
But it was just like, when you're listening, when you're a kid and you've listened to Led Zeppelin, how can you go back to, Sugar Sugar or Saturday night? You're like kind of like, wait a minute, this is lightweight music, man. I'm listening to like Led Zeppelin and Jethro Tull, Aqualung, Locomotive Breath, Deep Purple, have Smoke on the Water.
Yeah.
What's this?
It's good.
And they call it puppy love or whatever. What is this
But
crap?
sometimes you want steak and baked potato, and sometimes you want a Snickers bar.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And going back to Bacharach, Mancini, and the Carpenters, I'm going to add Jimmy Webb, who wrote classic pop songs like, The Highwayman, Up and Away, MacArthur Park, all that stuff. Even though MacArthur Park's kind of goofy, but I did. So he was he was an easy listen. He was a young man, but he was a kind of an easy listening guy. But his songs, Wichita Lineman, Galveston, his songs were deep. Easy listening is a form of music that I never, and maybe it's being hipster, I don't know, but I never gave two whatever about it. But I like it now because it's fun.
If I don't know if you've ever watched like Jerry Reed or
Oh, hee haw.
Roy Clark or whatever. You ever
They could
watch it?
play, man.
Like holy Toledo, and you I can't. I've watched videos where they've showed other guitarists, Roy Clark, and the
Chet Atkins.
like holy Toledo. But because the country songs back then, like
They're corny.
corny, simplified, and stuff. People thought it was unsophisticated music, but there was a lot more sophistication there than.
I mean,
Than
they were. I mean, look. Let's just say it out loud, because I don't think we'll get in trouble. It was for rednecks.
yeah, yeah. It was
Let's
for
just say it.
it was
And I
for the
wasn't. I wasn't a redneck, and I'm not a redneck, but I like it now.
it was for an audience down south that lived in a more rural
Yeah.
place, and it had it spoke to them and their experiences.
If it wasn't on, like, okay, if I'm listening to Whole Lot of Love, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, Long Distance Runaround, when I'm the happiest girl in the whole USA. What do you think? You think I'm going to be listening to the happiest girl in the whole USA? No. Or
Uh,
like,
and,
or what was the other one? I never promised you a rose garden, which I do like. I do like that song, by the way. I think it's better than I'm the happiest girl in the whole USA. But hey, I was a rock and roll guy, hard rock, prog. Now I'm like an old guy, so I listen to it all.